Morning, good morning. Merry Christmas. Celebrations taking place right across the world today. Festivities have been largely scaled back, but that hasn't stopped people gathering at places of worship to mark the day. At the Vatican, Pope Francis has celebrated Christmas Eve Mass in front of an estimated 1,500 people in St. Peter's Basilica. The pontiff urged the faithful to focus on the littleness of Jesus and to remember that he came into the world poor. Those attending Mass were required to wear face masks following new regulations that all Vatican staff must be vaccinated. Meanwhile, Bethlehem's Manger Square is awash with festive lights as hundreds gathered to celebrate Christmas there. Nearly all of those are locals, as Israel sadly has banned most flights from overseas. Midnight Mass was held at the Church of Nativity in Bethlehem in the early hours of this morning. Celebrations were reduced due to COVID restrictions and concerns about the Omicron variant. Bethlehem hosted 3.5 million visitors during its last pre-pandemic winter in 2019-20. The Archbishop of Canterbury is set to use his Christmas sermon to preach a message of support to volunteers helping refugees. The Most Reverend Justin Welby is expected to say that the Christmas story shows us how we must treat those who are unlike us. The Archbishop, who'll deliver his sermon at Canterbury Cathedral at 11 o'clock this morning, is also expected to pay tribute to those volunteering at food banks over the Christmas period. And Christmas in the Southern Hemisphere. Sunny Christmas Day on Sydney's Bondi Beach for stranded expats. Huge crowds have flocked to Sydney beaches as the city turns on the hot weather for Christmas Day. A lot of Bondi Beach goers were seen wearing Santa hats with Christmas picnic spreads. Here in the UK, the Queen is expected to deliver a particularly personal Christmas Day message, her first since the death of the Duke of Edinburgh. Her Majesty will celebrate Christmas at Windsor instead of Sandringham, as is traditional. And because of the Omicron variant, she'll be joined by far fewer members of the royal family. Meanwhile, the Duchess of Cambridge has hosted Together at Christmas, a carol concert at Westminster Abbey to pay tribute to the people and organisations who supported communities throughout the pandemic. Here's Milena.
A carol service with a difference, hosted by the Duchess of Cambridge at Westminster Abbey, celebrating inspirational people who help their communities get through this difficult year.
We've been through such a bleak time. We've seen so many challenges. We've lost our loved ones. We've seen our frontline workers under immense pressure. And also we've been more emotionally and socially distanced and isolated from each other. But I suppose through that separation, we've also realised how much we need each other and how acts of kindness and love can really bring us comfort and relief in times of distress.
The Duchess showcased her piano skills in public for the first time in a surprise performance with singer Tom Walker.
It was amazing. She's a really talented musician. I think there was a bit of nervousness from both of us when we were initially planning it. And we did a rehearsal together, and it was the first time she'd played with another musician in over 10 years. I think during lockdown, the Duchess played a lot of piano to kind of get through and distract herself from everything. But yeah, it was amazing. It went so well.
The event capped off a difficult year for the royal family, marked by the death of Prince Philip, whose photograph with the Queen took centre stage during her Christmas message. And in a tender tribute, the monarch wore the same sapphire brooch she first donned as a newlywed.
For anybody spending Christmas without the person they'd spent the whole of their lives with will be tough. I think the emblem of the brooch that she's wearing is so special and typical of her recognition of the fact that he's still with her in spirit.
The Queen usually hosts her family on her Sandringham estate, but yet again the virus scuppered the festive gathering.
This is the second year the Queen will spend Christmas at Windsor Castle because of COVID, and the first to spend without her husband in a very long time. But she won't be alone. She'll be joined by the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall on Christmas Day.
On the Queen's Christmas tree are 100 stars.
Your stars that you
made by the children from the Royal School in Windsor.
We made stars and they went on the Queen's Christmas tree. And the Queen loved it. Yeah, she did.
a symbol of hope that next Christmas will be better for all of us. Milena Veselinovic, Sky News.
She looks great, doesn't she? Apparently she was wearing red to be a little bit more upbeat and lifting the spirits of the nation. We'll hear from Her Majesty, I think at 3 o'clock this afternoon for the Queen's speech, just after you've had your turkey and the first row. Now, families across the country, as I said, celebrating a second Christmas, sadly in the shadow of the pandemic, as the expectation of further COVID restrictions in the next few weeks are looming. Thousands across the country self-isolating today. Charities working harder than ever to deliver supplies to those of us spending the day alone, particularly because Christmas Eve saw the highest number of new cases of the virus since the start of the pandemic. It comes as modelling by government scientific advisors. See, we're leaving her there just to keep your mood a little bit lifted today, because this stuff from the University of Warwick suggesting new COVID restrictions similar to those in place in England in April might be necessary until late March to reduce the number of COVID deaths in the new year. That's despite early studies showing a much lower risk of hospitalisation from Omicron compared to other variants. Here's Sadia.
I'm just going to put the food parcel for you.
Christmas meal kits delivery for those self-isolating with COVID.
All right, thank you. You've got chicken, you've got turkey, and you've got a Christmas dinner that's already cooked.
This community in East London wants to make sure nobody feels alone.
It's the most wonderful time.
We know ourselves, like from our own parents and people around, your neighbours and everything, that sometimes they don't have the connection with the family, their children, either because they moved away too far or they've passed away or something, or they're just on their own. So we feel it's really important to cheer people up and let people know that the community's there for them.
The crates are fully loaded so that those self-isolating won't feel the need for a trip to the supermarket. Scientists warn rules must be taken seriously, especially at Christmas.
Self-isolating is incredibly important. The only real way we can beat this is by breaking chains of infection. People can reduce their risk by standing at a distance from other people. They might not really want to do that around Christmas, but I think it's a good idea.
This year, many more of us will spend Christmas alone as COVID cases soar.
Over 120,000 new cases of COVID were recorded in the latest 24-hour period. That's a new record high. And it means that nearly 750,000 people are likely to be self-isolating today.
And that's along with the million or so who are recently bereaved, and almost 1 million who, whether self-isolating or not, don't have anyone to spend Christmas with.
The scale of need has only increased. Our calls to our helpline doubled, and they've sustained at that level ever since. The numbers of people seeking help and support has continued to go up.
A reading from the letter to Titus.
At midnight, Mass in Southwark Cathedral, a chance for a few to come together. Extra special perhaps this year, knowing how many others couldn't. Sadia Chowdhury, Sky News.
Just want to have a quick look at the booster figures for you this morning. This is what happened yesterday. 605,000 people, more actually, had either their booster or their third jab. That means that nearly 32.3 million people have now had their third jab or booster. And we are going to go to a booster centre a little bit later on, because they're even open today. So if you're going for a walk, you've not had your booster yet, leave the dog outside, pop in and have your booster. Not just for you, but for everybody else around you. Now, how do we tackle loneliness among the elderly at Christmas? I'm going to be speaking to charities making sure no one feels alone this festive season. That's at 7:30. Not just the elderly, of course. We'll speak to a Samaritans volunteer as hundreds of thousands of people forced to isolate this Christmas because they've tested positive. And heading to church this morning, find out how you can stay COVID safe at Christmas services. Also making the news for you today, commercial airlines around the world have cancelled more than 4,500 flights over the Christmas weekend because of a surge in COVID infections. The disruptions have caused uncertainty and misery for holiday travellers. Flight tracking website flightaware.com says at least 2,400 flights were cancelled yesterday, typically a busy day for air travel. 10,000 more flights were delayed. Around a quarter of the cancellations were in the US. Technology designed to look into the origins of the universe is set to launch into space later. The James Webb Telescope, which will replace Hubble, has been designed with the help of British scientists. It's able to look back 13 billion years to the oldest stars and will orbit around 1 million miles from Earth. It'll also investigate whether planets outside our own solar system may be suitable for life. Now, former England striker Daniel Sturridge has been ordered to pay $30,000 to a man who found his missing dog. Sturridge offered a reward for the return of the Pomeranian named Lucci in July of 2019. The pooch was found by a local musician, Foster Washington. The court documents show a default judgment was given, meaning Sturridge did not answer the complaint. When Afghanistan fell to the Taliban in August of this year, among those most desperate to flee the country were the female judges, lawyers and prosecutors who were vital in upholding the rights of African women and girls over the last 2 decades. More than 100 female judges and their families managed to escape with the help of a team of lawyers here in the UK. Ashna has been speaking to the British lawyer who helped coordinate her escape.
Fauzia was a trailblazer in Afghanistan as one of the first women to climb the ladder in the judiciary. Only a senior judge in the Supreme Court gets an office like this.
We work on the elimination of violence against women in Afghanistan in our courts.
For almost 20 years, she fought violence against women, won domestic abuse cases and shaped family law in Afghanistan. But in August, the Taliban dismantled it all. The legal system scrapped, and those like Fauzia forced into hiding.
I'm very sad now, because our judicial system is not better now. It's sadly for me, it's for my another judges also, very sadly.
The humanitarian rescue effort was desperate. Hundreds of lawyers needed to flee. Choreographing the escape thousands of miles away was Baroness Kennedy.
The women who were contacting me were terrified out of their lives. They were hiding with their families and their children in basements. They had moved out of their houses and gone to stay with relatives. And they were getting these threats on their phones, and then through relatives they would be receiving threats. And so I mean, it was really, it was the horror of all of that made us think at the Institute of Human Rights, we've got to do something.
Through donations, a team of pro bono lawyers chartered flights to rescue the judges and their families. Over 100 were brought to safety. Australia and Ireland among the countries taking them in. Baroness Kennedy says these women can play a part in the legal system here.
These are wonderful people who were doing good things for us and protecting the rule of law, trying to build a new democracy there, and who were basically dealing with, dealers in heroin and dealing with men who were abusing women and the stuff that we care about and that we lead the world on.
And Fauzia wants to be one of them.
We are safe now, and all my family is safe, my children, and my husband also. I want to study and work here because I want to, my specialist, I'm a judge and I want to work here now.
Grateful, safe, and now many willing to use their legal minds in their new home. Ashna Horinag, Sky News.
Now, many of us will be getting together with loved ones to eat our Christmas lunch, but how can we do it safely? Joining us now, our regular GP, Dr. David Lloyd, to give us a few tips on a COVID-secure Christmas. Hello to you, Doc. I suppose the first thing you'd say is if you've not had your booster, go and get one.
Golly, yes, and I think there are actually places that are open on Christmas Day where you can. So, yes, that is a very good suggestion. Yes.
And as far as our elderly relatives are concerned, if we're lucky enough to have elderly relatives, what can we do to look after them?
So I think we've just got to be very aware. I'm so sorry on this very special day to talk about these things, but I guess that we've got to be aware of the symptoms of COVID and also make sure that we're not carrying the virus. So I would say any meeting should be preceded, I'm afraid, by a lateral flow test, and just watch out for the symptoms, because as you know, over the year we've been talking, you always know far more than me, but the symptoms of COVID seem to have changed, haven't they? So it's a runny nose, it's a sore throat, and it's a headache, rather than the classic fever, cough, and loss of sense of smell. So things have changed. So if you've got any of those symptoms, you should be very suspicious that you might be carrying this virus.
What do you make of the latest research, which is suggesting, I know you've been on holiday, so I'll share it with you, the Omicron variant from the UK Health Security Agency, saying that the symptoms and what it might do to you are significantly less severe than the previous Delta variant?
Yes, I think that's what I've been picking up, but it seems to be moving up the airway, if you like. The pneumonia from the first Delta COVID seems to be moving up, so it's more of an upper respiratory infection, which is good news. I mean, I mustn't get too excited, but it is good news. It may be that the virus is becoming less virulent as it learns to live with us, because that's the virus doesn't want to kill us, really. It wants to have a host that stays alive so they can go on living and breeding. So yes, it is a good thing that these symptoms seem to have changed. I'm going to get shot down by saying living. Viruses, do viruses live? That's a very good question. I don't know.
They need a host, don't they?
Yeah. They do. Yes, they need a host, yes.
Talk to me of something that I often think about at this time of year. When I first came to London a very long time ago, I was working at Christmas, and so I had Christmas Day on my own. And ever since, I've always had waifs and strays. Anybody who's on their own comes to my house for Christmas. A lot of people are still on their own at Christmas time. And I suppose it is a health issue in that, you know, that's when people can be down and very sad. And it's really important, isn't it, to make sure that we just go and knock on the door and make sure everybody's okay.
So important, I think, yes. I think we've got to be very aware of the other consequences of being alone and the consequences of being alone at Christmas. So, yes, a very good point, Kay. We've got to look after our own and make sure that people who are living on their own, who may be having a horrid time at Christmas, get a little bit of cheer. That would be great.
And you've just been away, haven't you? How difficult was it to travel at the moment? Did you find it fairly straightforward?
Astonishingly straightforward, yes. I breezed through Malaga Airport and I breezed through London Heathrow. So, yes, and I've had my PCR. It was all very slick. So, yes, it was all right for me. But I gather that thousands of flights have been cancelled. So I do feel very sorry for people who are hanging around for hours in different places. So, yes, no, it was very easy.
But you're going to be able to spend Christmas with family?
Yes, provided their lateral flows are negative. Of course, I'm PCR negative, so I'm crowing today.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Merry Christmas, Doctor. It's lovely to see you. Thank you very much. Okay. Enjoy your Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very quick look at the weather for you.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Low pressure in the Atlantic, pushing rain into the country from the southwest, bringing milder conditions, but cold air still sits over the north and the northeast. Big question, is it going to be a white Christmas? The answer is, if you're living on a hill in Scotland, probably. For the rest of us, no.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Thank you for all the pictures that you are sending. Lorry drivers in their cabs, we'll share those with you later on. I was also asking for Christmas baby pictures yesterday. Look at this cutie. Sarah sent us a picture of her granddaughter, Aria Rose, beautiful name, on Twitter. She was born 4 weeks early at the end of July, but she is an absolute cutie. I love her hat. How cool is that? Let's have a look at baby Archie, sent to us by Sue on Twitter, who's also 5 months old, born in July. And look at this one. Anne-Marie sent us pictures of her granddaughters. There they are. 7-week-old Sylvie and Iris, who is 16 weeks old. So do send us more of your pictures of the little ones who are dressed up in their Christmas finery. Tweet me directly if you would like to, at @Burley. Umar's standing by to make sure we put those on the telly and share them with the world, which is exactly what Santa is trying to do over the previous and the next few hours. There he is. Where is he? He's on the other side of the planet, and I think, I'm being told, he's now over the Pacific, to be specific. And there he is on his Santa app. He's heading towards Mexico, is what I'm being told. There he is. So if you're in Mexico, watching us in Cancun or whatever, then he's heading your way. And, oh yeah, actually, San Diego. There you go. San Diego, California, United States. In 39 seconds, he's going to be with you. So if you're not in bed, go now, kids. Go now. Otherwise, he won't stop. There we are. Santa with all the reindeer. I was saying yesterday, look at all the reindeer with their antlers. Now, they're called Rudolph, etc., aren't they? Did you know that they're ladies? Exactly, Kevin, my director, because only lady reindeer have their antlers in the wintertime. There you go. Something new you learn every single day. You are watching our breakfast programme on Christmas morning for you, trying to keep everything upbeat for you. If you're watching us and you're on your own this morning, don't go anywhere. We'll try and brighten your day as well, and we'll be talking to some people that can help you with that. Hello again, everybody. A very Merry Christmas wherever you are watching us around the world today. I've had messages from Singapore and Los Angeles so far this morning. If you've got some pictures that you would like to share with us of you with your family celebrating Christmas wherever you are, then do send them to us and we will share them with the rest of the world. You can tweet me directly if you would like to, at @Burley. Not everybody has got family and friends with them, have they, though, at this Christmas time? You need to think about the elderly in particular who might find themselves on their own. Morgan Vine, Head of Policy at Independent Age, is with us. Hi, Morgan. Good morning to you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
What do we need to do to look after the elderly? Obviously, we're going to be quite concerned that we don't want to give them any infections or anything at this time of year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's small things that people can do, just checking in, phone calls, safe visits if, you know, you're down their door path, etc. So they're at a safe distance, not to infect anybody. But there's also things like charities like us. So national and local charities exist in most localities that support older people who are feeling lonely and isolated. So whether you put the older person you know in touch with those charities or whether you've got time to volunteer yourself. And some of those volunteering opportunities can be not very time consuming, others more so. So, you know, you can pick and choose depending on what you've got time for.
Yeah. Now, what about people who are at home and they are on their own and they're feeling very lonely? Because, you know, we have these images of everybody around the tree, etc., etc. I've done 3 or 4 isolations this year, either because I've had COVID or, you know, I've had to have tests or whatever. And it's horrible. Is there anything we can do to sort of advice we can give to people to perhaps break through that, apart from binge watching Netflix?
I mean, I think one thing is thinking about who they might have lost contact with and whether they want to give them a call. Obviously, phoning somebody isn't going to put you at more risk to the virus. And there's lots of people who would be really open to receiving that phone call and happy to get it. At Independent Age, which is the charity I work for example, we run telephone friendship groups. So we have older people who come together on a weekly basis in small groups and chat about anything from gardening to cooking to memories of being on holiday. So there's lots of activities like that people could get involved with.
The elderly never want to be any trouble, do they? So how do we know if they're feeling lonely?
I think it's best just to ask, or even if you don't want to put the focus on the fact that somebody might be feeling lonely, because that can obviously make somebody feel quite vulnerable, or they might not want to say, just ring them up and see how they are. You don't have to, you know, flag that you think they might be feeling low or blue. You can just see how they're doing, tell them what you're up to. I think often that can be just as effective.
How has the rising cost of living impacted on people feeling lonely, particularly the elderly?
Yeah, so at Independent Age, we've been talking to people throughout the pandemic about their worries and concerns. And we did a survey in the autumn, actually, of about 5,000 people. And a quarter of them said they were really, really worried about cost of living rises. So we sort of followed that up over the last few weeks. And some of the findings are really concerning. So older people were telling us that they were going to cut back on their bills, like reduce their electricity and their gas. And at a time when we all know it's cold and dark, that's not something that we would want people to feel forced into doing. So people are having to make really tough choices. And I think what's really important is for the older age group, there are less ways that they can tackle cost of living or increase their income. It's not like they can go off and get a new job if they're in their 80s or 90s, for example. So they have to manage on what they've got. And that's why we're really worried about it. I mean, people often have these assumptions about older people that they're, in retirement, living on vast incomes, but actually 2 million live in poverty. And, when we speak to people, that's them making choices about not getting fresh fruit, not putting the kettle on more than once a day, sleeping in a hat and a coat, things like that.
Wow. How do people get in touch with your agency if they want to be involved with the phone groups that you're talking about and the like?
So Independent Age, we've got lots of information and support on our website, both about the telephone groups, but also if you are feeling lonely or if you want to support somebody who's lonely. So our website is independentage.org, and our telephone number, which is open at various points over the next few days and will go back to fully being open in the new year, is 0800 319 6789.
Okay. Umar will cut a clip of our interview, put it on Twitter, and we'll make sure that we have that telephone number there as well. Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Not just the elderly, of course, who can feel a bit alone at Christmas time. Let's talk to Nikos Souslous, who is from the charity, the Smile Brigade. Hello to you. Talk to me about the Smile Brigade.
Hi, good morning, Merry Christmas. Well, the Smile Brigade is a very lovely community organisation based in Hammersmith and Fulham, which has been going in different forms for the past decades. And before the pandemic, we were helping older people and vulnerable and at-risk residents with the health and well-being, with activities, entertainment. Since the pandemic, we've moved to food delivery services. So anyone who is at risk, vulnerable, especially older people, we deliver food straight to the doors at no cost to them. Food and groceries, we've done hundreds of thousands of meals over the past 20 months. And of course, Christmas is the biggest event for us. And
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what will you be doing today, Nikos?
Today I've been doing what I've been doing over the past week, what many of us have been doing over the past week, which will be preparing and delivering food and gifts for free to, I think today it's more than 400 residents across Hammersmith and Fulham, mainly elderly people, but anyone who is at risk or vulnerable.
That's amazing. And how will you celebrate Christmas? You're going to have a little bit of time for yourself as well?
Once we're done, I think I have some time to catch up on some sleep. Unfortunately, other plans fell through. Boxing Day is probably the one for some time for myself.
Okay, well, you have, great work that you do. Goodness me, all those people are eating because you and your team are there to help them. Good for you. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes out to talk to us here on Sky News this morning. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Now, after a century and a half hidden away in private collections, 13 stolen Ethiopian artefacts have finally returned home following months of negotiation. The artefacts were looted by British soldiers in the 19th century. If you're in Greece, look away now. You know what I mean. Scholars say their return to Ethiopia could be the best way to reflect that we're coming to terms with the more complicated aspects of British colonial past, as John reports.
The people of Ethiopia have been around for a long, long time. This region has been populated for thousands of years. But the country's ancient heritage isn't immediately apparent in the capital, Addis Ababa. Yet there is a place in this city where some of Ethiopia's most precious artifacts are stored. And they have recently received some very important additions.
3 of them came from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And 13 of them from Britain.
Okay. We were taken to the 4th floor of the National Museum storeroom, and they unlocked a cabinet in the corner. Inside, we found cultural treasures looted by British soldiers in the 19th century.
Oh, wow. What is that? It's a shield. It's a shield? Yes.
And was that used in the Battle of Magdala?
Yeah.
Earlier this year, these items were put up for auction by the descendants of the troops who took them. But Ethiopian diplomats intervened and negotiated their return to the capital.
You can see the name of the captain who took it, Arbuthnot.
The British soldier who grabbed these buffalo horn beakers topped them in silver and engraved his name.
Is it disappointing that family members are doing this? They're trying to make money out of stolen items.
Yeah, disappointing. Disappointing not because that particular family auctioned them, but because these are part of Ethiopian treasures which auctioned in the outside world. Yeah.
The Battle of Magdala in 1868 is viewed by many Ethiopians as a catastrophe. Facing defeat by the British Army, Emperor Theodore II took his own life, and his possessions were expropriated.
Some of them ended up in museums and others ended up in private collections of the soldiers. And the soldiers also, when they found Theodore's body, they cut bits of his hair, ripped bits of his shirt, and as souvenirs. And in fact, quite recently, the Imperial War Museum restituted a piece of his hair. The then Minister of Culture went on a visit and she pointed out to them that it was not really such a nice thing to do to have human remains on display.
In Europe and the UK, people feel less comfortable now about cultural treasures that were plundered at gunpoint, and it's prompted some to act. A Cambridge college has returned one of the famed Benin bronzes stolen by British soldiers back in 1897. And the French president, Emmanuel Macron, says he's prepared to return all artifacts that were taken without consent. But such a policy would devastate collections in institutions like the British Museum.
British cultural institutions, museums have provided a safe space to both preserve and display these items, that they have essentially ensured their survival.
That's correct, but let's not forget that manuscripts have been kept in Ethiopia from the 6th century, and they even had a system where they had cats that were there to protect the churches and the manuscripts from rats.
Ethiopians have not forgotten about the theft of a set of Christian plaques at the Battle of Magdala. Each church in this country has one. They're called tabots, but the tabots removed from the battlefield are of deep historical and holy importance.
The public at large now still frequently ask primarily the tabots, and that is very sacred object, very sacred.
The tabots, which represent the Ark of the Covenant, are now held in a storeroom in the British Museum, and 20 years of negotiations has not won their release.
It's really just shocking.
These artifacts come with their own unique history, a record of theft that cannot be ignored, and pressure will build on those who hold them to return them. It may be the best way to learn from the past. John Sparks, Sky News in Addis Ababa.
South African Cabinet Minister urging the cancellation of an upcoming American auction of a key to the Robben Island prison cell where Nelson Mandela was jailed. Sale is due in January in New York by Guernsey's auction house. The seller is Christo Brand, Mandela's former prison guard in the notorious jail. South Africa's culture minister said there had been no consultation with the government. The key belongs to the people of South Africa and is not anyone's personal belonging. Many of those faced difficult personal, financial or physical challenges during the pandemic had an impact on their mental health. And with UK COVID cases hit the highest level since the pandemic began, there are more concerns about the effects of mental health. Let's talk more about it, should we? Steve's joining us from the Samaritans. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Oh, what a year. What two years it's been. How are people coping, in your experience? Hi, Steve. Can you hear me? Steve, we're going to come back to you in just a sec. We can't hear you just at the moment. We'll come back to you in just a minute. Meantime, I don't know if you were listening a little bit earlier on. I was talking to you about truckers. And do you remember earlier on in the year when we were saying Christmas would be ruined, we wouldn't have the food that we needed for Christmas, and lots of gifts that we'd ordered would not be coming? Lorry drivers really pulled out all the stops, didn't they? Including Steve. There's Steve. Steve sent me this picture and he reminded me last night of all of the lorry drivers who've been working so hard over the last few weeks to make sure that we can all celebrate at Christmas with our loved ones. If you have got a picture of yourself as a trucker in the cab, send them to us. You can tweet me directly if you would like to, @Burley, and we will share them with the world. Meantime, look at this. The Biden family's new puppy spent part of Christmas Eve playing on the lawn of the White House. There he is. He's called Commander. There he was, doing what dogs do, chasing a ball. He's also with his owner there. The nearly 4-month-old German Shepherd enjoyed the day with Peter Neal, the fiancé of President Joe Biden's granddaughter, Naomi. The Bidens' other dog, another German Shepherd named Major, now lives off-site with family friends. You know why, don't you? Because he bit somebody. There he is. Welcome, Commander. Let's see if we can speak to Steve now. Hi, Steve.
Morning. Hello, Kay.
Ah, you're there. Sorry about that, Steve. Yeah, Christmas gremlins. You know what they're like. That's another movie I like to watch at Christmas time. A lot of people sad at this time of year. They've gone through the whole year and they may be finding themselves on their own at Christmas time. Talk to us about how you help them.
Well, I mean, we're there. It's important to remember that we're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year anyway. So Christmas is another day. But of course, I think we're acutely aware of the fact that for many people, it's not a happy time. It can be a really lonely and isolated time, and a time where people can, reflect on happy family times they may have had in the past and don't have anymore. So I think it's important that we're there just to make sure that they know that there is a connection there. There are people around that are there to talk to basically share things with on a day like this, which, as I said, is sometimes not the happiest of days.
No. Is it a busy time of year for you?
Interestingly enough, I mean, I don't think there is a busy time of the year. It's always busy. So Christmas is no different to any other day of the year, really. We take... I think the statistic is at the moment it's a call every 7 seconds, and that's 24 hours a day.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, 24 hours a day, every day of the week and every day of the year. So we are constantly busy. I think the need for our services is always there.
Yeah. Why did you decide to volunteer, Steve?
We had a family tragedy. A member of our family sadly took their own lives, and so we, myself and my partner Carolyn, felt compelled to do something. She approached it from the side of becoming a spokesperson for suicide awareness and these kind of things, and I decided that I wanted to do something as well, and so I joined Samaritans about 7 years ago now, for the simple fact that I wanted to give something back, in that situation. So yeah, that's the reason.
Amazing work that you guys do. A call every 7 seconds. Oh my goodness me! Thanks for joining us, Steve. Love to your missus as well, and have a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much.
You too, Kay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Anyone who is affected by the topics that we have been discussing or is emotionally distressed can reach out to the Samaritans for support at the number on the screen for you now, 116 123. We'll leave that up for you, Kevin, won't we? Or via email. You go to joe@samaritans.org. You're not on your own, and don't feel that it's just you. Just hearing there from Steve, a call every 7 seconds. Give them a ring, or even better, if you know someone who might be on their own at the moment, pop round. You can keep a safe distance, just leave a present on the doorstep. We'll see you in a sec.